So, Christina,
Irene.
we read The Wish by, I always want to say Nicolas Cage, and I know that's not right,
It's
but Nicholas,
Nicholas Sparks.
maybe they're cousins. I don't know. You know
Sorry.
what? Maybe our brother Nicholas is also included.
Oh God, can you imagine?
So,
The character's family's values are very in line with his, so I would not be surprised.
it's
Also,
true.
excuse my voice. My child caught the plague from another child, and now we all have
The
the plague.
plague. Yeah.
So
And
have
both
kids
children
say
have
said
sneezed into my mouth.
into my poor sister's mouth. Yes.
EDs. But back to The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. Tell me, what are your initial thoughts? I just want to hear everything.
So I have a lot to say about this book. Um, I still don't know if I liked it. I just finished it this morning. I have a lot of feelings about it. I think that while we work through it, I'll sort of decide whether or not I liked it.
Hmm.
I expected it to be sad. I don't know that I expected it to be as sad as it was, in
Uh,
that I feel like the main character's trajectory, like everything that happened over the course of her life, why are you making that face?
yeah, no, I'm just listening.
I think the main character's trajectory, every single thing was like a tragedy. It was just very sad.
Some people
Also,
don't live happy lives.
no, they don't, and I think that that's fine. A lot of people I kind of filtered around for recommendations for a book to that would be festive for December. And they were like, yeah, it's like a Christmas story. Yeah, I guess it takes place around Christmas. A lot of the story revolves around Christmas. I don't know if it's like a feel-good Christmas story, but as Irene
That's
told us,
fair.
she likes a bittersweet ending. So
I do.
hopefully this was a bittersweet ending that she could appreciate, whether or not she liked the book. Um, a lot of people said that this was reminiscent of Nicholas Sparks' older works, i.e., The
Interesting.
Notebook. Um, I do think it was very predictable.
I honestly, I will say I don't know if it was as predictable as you say. Okay, so just a
Well,
warning.
first tell us what are your initial thoughts? What did you think?
Okay, yes. So I will say I did like the book. I'm not gonna say I loved it just because I feel like there were points where I was just like, oh, this is definitely written by a man. Um,
Uh-huh.
and I don't
100%.
mean that in a bad way. I just mean I feel like sometimes men kind of glamorize a woman's experience and they don't
Yes.
necessarily do a great job of like actually going through the motions of what a woman actually is going through. And
Yes.
sometimes they like make her and to an extent, okay, so I did like it. I'm not gonna say I loved it. Maybe it will become like kind of like a favorite. I love the bittersweet ending. Truthfully, I was just let's just kind of jump right into it because
Yeah.
you were
Let's
like, I think I because you told me you had started the book before me. You were like, I think I know what the ending is gonna be
uh
because we already know like the prognosis. So spoiler alerts ahead. I'm not holding back any spoilers.
Yeah, no.
Um,
If you don't want to know the ending of The Wish, do not watch this video.
yeah,
This is
skip to the
not a
next one.
spoiler-free zone.
No. But you were like, oh, I think that we know the wish that she'll want to live because she has cancer.
I
And I
never said
was
that.
like, yeah, you did.
I said that?
You said that.
I would have never said that. That was never my guess.
That's what
I
you
said, no, I said we know what her prognosis is in the beginning. See, I always want to know what the patient has. Like, you don't have to wait around and find out
yeah.
why someone is sick. Oh, I never thought that her wish would be that she wanted to live. I mean, obviously she's young, but
That's bad. Okay. All
I think
right.
it was just a misunderstanding of what I was trying to say.
Okay, well anyway, not the point. Point being, um, I so when I was reading it, I kind of went back and forth. So a lot of the things that I was thinking were like
Pulling up my notes.
clearly what
I'm pulling up my notes. Go ahead.
okay. Nicholas Sparks clearly doesn't understand what it's like to be pregnant, right? Like that was
100%.
like to be fair, like not that I didn't like I kind of knew not knowing 100% what the book was about, but like I was just like okay. what is the problem, or what is the like kind of like what is bringing us through this book. And then when we got to that first flashback, I was like, oh, okay, now we know.
Right,
and and I
100%.
and I'm I don't know, I guess I'm kind of surprised that abortion wasn't talked about at all. And I know she's Catholic family or and everything, but like she was,
Nicholas Sparks is super Catholic.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yes, he's very Catholic.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie though, when he was like, I'm glad you didn't get an abortion, like Bryce, when he said that, I was like, and then to be fair though, he kind of backtracked
Okay.
it and was like, because I wouldn't have met you. And I was like, all right, but like now she has to go through pregnancy, destroy her body just to meet you. Fuck.
Right. Yes, yes, I agree. But when he said that line and he said, "I'm glad you didn't have an abortion," I was like, "Oh,
Me too.
are you going to say something about her going to hell?"
Right. Right.
But when he said, "Because I got to meet you," I was like, "Okay, that's like a very teenage way." Because keep in mind, he's only 17, right?
Yes.
So should we get just give like a little brief synopsis?
Sure. Go, take it away.
So the story starts out with our main character, Maggie, sort of telling us that she has just found out her prognosis for her stage 4 melanoma cancer. And that it's terminal and there are no more treatments left. So she works as a photographer and she also manages an art gallery that she started with another artist. There is a young man who works for them and it's Christmas time, and so the two other employees like go off with their families, and Maggie is in New York at the gallery with this young man, and she's sort of telling him her story of when she was 16. And sorry, that was really disgusting. When she was 16 and she found out she was pregnant and she got sent away to live with her aunt in some obscure town in North Carolina in the 90s. And that's kind of the gist of the story. She talks about the boy she fell in love with and all her heartbreak and how she learned to love this little town and having to give the baby up for adoption. And she tells this young man her story. Um, and that's kind of the premise of the book.
We get into this beginning part of the story, and you're just like, okay, she is kind of a loner to an
Yes.
extent. I mean, I don't know how alone you can be in New York City, to be fair, but I don't know. I kind of love it because I feel like, I don't know. I guess I also was personally very connected to Maggie to an extent, especially when she moves to this town and she's pregnant. She meets this boy Bryce, and Bryce is, tutoring her in school. He's helping her with all of these things, and he is pretty much like the person that she becomes attached to, which, it was kind of funny. I thought when I was reading it, I was like, oh, we were both justified in being like, what we don't like when the first guy they meet is not the guy that they end up
Yeah.
with, but Bryce ended up being the guy to an
I love
extent.
that for her.
Me too. And he was actually a nice guy. He was smart. He gave a shit
Yes.
about her. And like it was all good things.
I have notes on Bryce. So
Yes.
let's start with our girl, our one and only Aunt Linda.
I wish I had an aunt like Aunt Linda.
Aunt Linda is definitely in a relationship with Gwen, though, right?
Yes, but she's too Catholic to say otherwise. And
They
unfortunately,
literally talked about it. They're like, do I think they were lovers? Like, yeah, we all think that they're together. They're like two old Catholic nuns
yeah,
that left the convent and
for
then moved
undisclosed
to North
reasons.
Carolina together to make biscuits. Like it's giving fried green tomatoes. It's giving,
I built an art room for my roommate,
right, from my
best
roommate.
friend, whatever the fuck it
It's
is.
it's giving you guys are a couple. Fine. We love it.
I think they never forgave themselves for being a couple though, because of how Catholic they were.
Well, they were nuns. They were literal
That's what
nuns.
I'm saying. They like never could forgive themselves for it, which is why they didn't live together, but they couldn't not be in each other's lives, which is very
Yeah.
sweet.
I couldn't believe that Aunt Linda saw the Bryce thing coming and continued to allow her.
Well, to be fair, I guess at the
For an
end of the
old Catholic
day,
woman.
Okay, but it's not like, first of all, what is she gonna do? Get pregnant?
Fair, but they still think like premarital sex, you know?
I mean, what was she gonna do at that point? Like, she either allows it to happen under her watchful eye, or she makes them be sneaky, and that just creates and makes everything worse.
Yes, I know that, and you know that, but a lot of very strict
I mean, who is she to talk?
parents, parents and parental figures do not feel the same way.
I think she's seen enough, and I think she knows enough. And I don't think she felt like she could control it, because I think at even at one point she was just like, I know, like there's like I can't, like there's no way to stop it.
But she kind of knew that it was going to be a thing because she,
Kind of push them towards each other.
yeah, and I also think that her experience in working with unwed mothers, like it's the worst thing in the world, um, and working with the Sisters of Mercy actually gave her a lot of empathy. And
Yeah.
she knew that finding that connection might actually be really good for Maggie.
Yeah, I think 100%. I'm an Aunt Linda stan. If she has no
I
stans, then
love
I'm
him.
dead.
I
Like
love
again,
her.
I wish I had someone like
I
her
love Gwen too, because I'm like, okay,
you can throw down.
right. Throw down on those biscuits and deliver some babies, girlfriend. I love
Oh
her.
my God, the fact that she is just like, yeah, casually maybe 100 babies. Like, do you even, I mean, I guess it depends how popular you are as an OBGYN, right?
How many
Like,
years of experience you've had.
right. It's wild to me still, though.
So we went through it, Linda and Gwen. Can we just, I don't know. Do we want to talk about her parents? You pick the
Okay,
next.
no, 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 no. We can talk about her parents. Okay, we can talk about her parents because you know what? If they have no haters, then I'm dead.
I
Okay,
hate that.
I hate them so I don't care. And I think, looking back at it, I'm like, clearly Maggie had to make peace with her parents. Like
And
she
she did.
clearly had to, like, how else was she gonna survive if she couldn't make peace with them?
Right.
Like,
And what an angel for her to like find. But I will tell you, it is something that happens if you actively work on it. It's something that happens with time, right? So
yeah, but I like to
if you
watch the world burn, so
It's fine, but like I said, if you want it to, it's something that happens with time. It's a way that you find a way to sort of let other people be themselves and
no,
how it works into your life.
no, no, because they never wanted her to be herself.
No, they
They,
didn't.
they
I hate
only
it.
wanted her to be her sister, and that's not okay. Like, they didn't care who she was as a person, and when she made a mistake, she was quite literally banished. And then the day after she gives birth, her mom is like, "You're getting on a
That
plane
was
ride home." That's
that
just
was rough.
cruel. That's just cruel. That's not
Also,
even that.
not medically sound.
No, that's why it's even the doctor was pissed at her. Like, that's just cruel to do to
That's like not a
somebody.
medically sound decision in any ways. And I have room to talk. Like I'm a nurse. So
You're also had a baby.
oh, that
You're
too.
also
But
just like a
that was
human
medically,
being with empathy.
it's just not as medically. It was, they were, she even says, like, oh, yeah, like they were worried about blood clots, but my mom didn't care.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't, she can say that they loved her all she wants, but I'm sorry, I don't think that's love. I think that's cruelty, and I think that's punishment for quote unquote making bad choices. And it's like,
Yeah,
well, maybe if you showed your daughter any shred of compassion or any shred of empathy, or even just paid attention to her, maybe she would have had some better education. Maybe if you weren't so afraid of your own wrongdoings, that you could have just been
right.
a better parent.
And I think I'm angry at her dad because he's so like stoic and like passive.
Yeah.
Like, grow a pair, get over yourself.
Right. This is not what we wanted for you. Do you think she wanted this?
Right.
Also,
Like, this is,
again, abortions exist. Like, honestly, more people need to have abortions. More people need to not have children.
I agree. I do think it's okay to not want that, like to come to terms with
Oh,
that
yeah.
in your own heart. Like, I think again, I believe everybody has a choice. And if your choice is to not have one, that's fine.
She didn't
But
have
if
a
she
choice,
said
though.
herself, like, if I had wanted one, I would have had to go get one on my own. But
But
that's okay.
she didn't
She
even
could have.
really have it. No one freaking talked to her. She was just like talked about. So she was being forced to be a grown up, and but no one consulted her in her own decisions. Like, no one took her to the doctor and was like, talk to the doctor, see what you want to do. They
Right.
just told her what they still treated her as a child, but wanted her to be an adult. And that's what gets me because it's like they never gave her the room. And you know what? I'm sorry, like maybe if she had like an informed option, like it could have been something else.
In that vein, can we talk about the bear, Maggie Bear?
Yeah. Well, that's just like the representation of her childhood,
It was such
clearly.
a blatant, obvious representation of her
Yeah, I
child.
wish it was a different name. I wish it was like, I don't know. I almost wish it was like a friendship bracelet or something. Like something she was just like, I
Something. I get it because it is such a, it's just such an innocent thing to think of like a child holding their teddy bear, right?
yeah.
So I do see why that was chosen as the representation, but do we think a 16-year-old is still maybe sleeping with a stuffed animal or like a blanket? Like lots of people still have, I'm not making any judgment, but do we think a 16-year-old's like carrying it around? I don't know. It was a very clear representation of her like losing her
Yeah.
childhood innocence and then gaining some of that comfort back. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do think that was just such a clear, I was just like, why is a 16-year-old pregnant girl walking around with a teddy bear? And then it made
Yeah.
sense. Um, so that's my little spiel on the bear. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I truthfully didn't care much. I don't feel, you know what? Because I feel like it was so forced. Like I almost feel like it was an afterthought to an extent. And I know it does play a
That's
part
what it was. It felt
later.
forced. I agree. It did
Yeah.
feel forced.
I
It did.
think that's like why I don't care about the bear. Like I'm like, I get it, I get the metaphor, but I'm just like, I don't care enough about this bear because I feel like it was so forced on me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But when she gave the bear to the baby, like that was very cute. Like
That was really sweet.
yeah. But did we have to have Maggie Bear in like every freaking scene? Like that was too much.
Yes.
I think she could have like introduced Maggie Bear when he did.
Yeah.
Then maybe sometime in the middle, she realized, she stopped kind of like needing it or using it or hadn't thought about it in a while.
Right.
Then at the end, she gives it to the baby. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there could have been a
Yeah.
lighter way of, it was just such a prominent part of the book. It was just so awkward.
Yeah, I guess I'm like, I'm sick of hearing about that. Like, and she named it Maggie Bear.
For the love of God.
Like you could have picked a better name. Kids usually just name things Bear. Like even Bear just would have been a better name than
Right.
Maggie Bear. Sorry. Like, I don't
Um,
know.
yeah.
No.
Who else?
Yeah. Well, Bryce and his family.
Bryce and his family. I think the family is like so interesting. Um, the mom was super cool, super smart. I don't
Right.
know. I I think it was very nice to see her living in this like rural area, like with a handicap in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I don't know how realistic that would have been for a small town in North Carolina in the 90s, but it was really cool to see.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, I guess it also depends at like what point, right? Like for her, like not treatment, but like in her prognosis, like that she like was,
Yeah, no, in her
like how
like
much,
recovery or yeah,
yeah. Because if
right.
she was more
If it's
comfortable
4
with
hours
things,
to the
yeah,
closest hospital, that seems like
a
a
lot.
tough ride. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I do like the family. I mean, the brothers are annoying. We have a younger brother. You have two. I have
I have
one.
two younger brothers.
But like brothers are annoying. I love them
Right.
anyway. But
Right.
that's just how they are. And I'm sure as an older brother, Bryce was annoying as hell too. We just never hear about it.
No, of course not. I do think, yeah,
And
they were wonderful.
I think the mom was also like super nice too. Like 'cause she had
Yeah.
gone through, similar things. I was hoping that there would be a little bit more of a discussion about like the mom and like just like telling Maggie like, things happen, like it's okay, like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But it kind of like I get like that wasn't really like her place, but I feel like that would have just been nice. And I think it was nice though that like they still would bond over photography and like that they actually found something super in common and like that they could all just like be passionate about. So
How did you feel about the story of her finding her passion for photography?
Who, like
Maggie.
Maggie's?
Yeah.
First of all, I would say I think I'm very biased towards it. I loved it because truthfully, there was something about Bryce explaining like the dark room and everything that I just felt very familiar with because when I was
Okay.
in high school, took a photography class. I was able to develop film and everything. Like I had prints and I understand the beauty of watching something quite literally develop before your eyes. And it's so
Absolutely.
cool and it's so amazing. And I think that there is something to be said about once you find something, especially I feel like in a place where you don't feel like you have control over anything and that you are like so desperate to find something to make you feel normal that you find this one thing that can go on in many aspects throughout life. I
Okay.
will say, however, the only thing that bothered me was when like Bryce was like too on the nose about technology. And I was just like, okay,
Oh,
we you could
God.
have just been like, I wonder what photography will look like in the next 15 years. And be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I heard they're trying to test digital cameras or something. I wonder how that will work out, just like a fun little like inkling. It didn't have to go into all of this like
The internet's
bullshit.
gonna be the next big thing.
Right. Like shut the fuck up.
Okay, bro.
Like shut up. Like, yeah, you're writing this in 2024.
Not
Relax.
only is your whole family geniuses, you're also psychic? Okay. Like, let's relax.
Exactly. Like also that was kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was the only like kind of gripe I had with his family was the fact that they were all geniuses.
Okay, but can I let me stop you right
Yeah.
there because look at my best friend's husband's family. Oldest brother is a literal rocket scientist. He is the dumb one. He's a doctor. And his youngest brother is getting his PhD in mathematical theory. So,
No, I think
and
that's
like
totally
mom and
fair.
dad are just kind of, we're just kind of like normal, like not normal. Well, like his mom is really smart and his dad is too, but they just grew up in a big
Rural.
South Dakota. Like,
Yeah.
so it happens.
Oh no, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I just feel like in stories sometimes it's like a little too on the nose.
I
Like
agree. I
I
agree.
think some like in real life you're like, oh crap, like how often does that actually happen? Versus like, I don't know. I don't know. I just think sometimes like maybe one of them could have been dumb. Like, I don't know.
Maybe Bryce could have been the black sheep.
He
They
kind
kind
of
of
was the black sheep, but he
okay, but
wasn't
was
the
he
black
though? I
sheep.
mean, getting into West Point, we all know how incredibly difficult that is.
Right. Yeah.
How academically gifted you have to be to get into West Point.
Insanely, and like to even be considered is like another but then it like yeah, you're right, like to get in like it's no small feature.
Right. So I just want to touch briefly on, also sorry for the background change. I just wanted a new look.
Gosh.
Yay. I just want to briefly touch on the gallery staff. So Trinity and Luann, I just think that they're so wonderful and they like became her makeshift little family.
I love it, and can I just say I feel like we skipped over something that I didn't even really think about, but like her vlogging experience of like cancer and like trying to find like the right people to come in. I think like that you're right. Like I think I value Luann and Trinity a lot more because they like were her rocks. Like they kept her like safe and like they protected her and they also helped her in like her most dire moments. And I think that you're right. Like they're just so amazing and like they're artists in their own right, which is amazing and just ugh.
They were going to cancel holiday plans with their own families to make sure that she wasn't alone and that she had the help that she needed.
I think that speaks a lot to who Maggie is as a person as well. Like
I,
that she's the type of person that they would cancel plans for because they love her and they value her as like more than a boss, as like a person and like someone that they cherish clearly. And I'm sure, spoiler alert if you don't already know, she dies at the end of the book. And like I'm sure they miss
who could
her,
have
like
predicted that with stage 4 metastatic
melanoma.
melanoma?
Dude, melanoma scares me. Like for reals, like melanoma scares me. Like I feel like it's just like so aggressive.
I just feel like cancer in general scares me.
Well, that's fair, but I don't know. For some reason, prostate cancer in men like takes forever to kill them.
That's because men get everything. We've had this conversation.
Well, I hate men anyway.
Men aren't shit. I mean, what?
Anyway, it's not about men right now.
I think that they're so wonderful and it really showed us who she truly was. Because if we listen to who Maggie thinks she is,
Yeah,
we
you think she's a pretty
get
shitty
that
person.
feeling. She does not feel like she is a wonderful person. She seems to be defined, whether or not she constantly brings it up or not, she seems to be defined by this thing that happened to her.
I also think it's just like the constant feeling of like never measuring up to her parents' expectations, whether or not it be the baby, whether or not it be like giving up a baby for adoption. It's just like the fact that her parents never ever valued her as more than just like a spare to their other daughter,
Right.
which is really upsetting. And the fact that her sister at the end is like, "Oh, well, I thought you were mom's favorite." I'm like, "You're an idiot. Like you're just an idiot. Like you know. Like you know."
Maybe, but also the pressure of let me, as the oldest, let me just put this out there, but the pressure of being the first one to do everything, feeling like everything has to be perfect, constantly being parentified, like that gets to a person. And I know that I could see how people would be upset at the sister for not necessarily like talking about her sister's illness with her or like being there to comfort her. I think that personally, like after years and years and years of dealing with people with like chronic illness, sometimes they just cannot have that conversation. So, do I think that it's okay? No, but do I understand where she's coming from? Because she was in a state of denial and maybe not wanting to necessarily deal with how sick her sister truly was. Yes. Do I
No.
excuse her for it? No, but is it part of the human condition? I believe that it is, yes.
Well, I think just like never asking about her sister having cancer is like ridiculous. The fact that you aren't flying
Yeah,
out there to be with her is ridiculous. The
yeah,
fact that you could have done so much more and you won't, and I get it, you have two kids, but you either pack up the kids and get the
right.
fuck over to your sister,
I
or
would, yeah.
right, I wouldn't sit here and like be like, yeah, well, my divorce. Who gives a shit? I'm dying. You're never gonna see me again.
Did, in all fairness, did Maggie did say she did ask me how I felt, and she gave a stock answer.
Yeah, because
And
she knew she didn't want to hear about like what the hell? Like no.
well, she
You can put
assumed
up
she
with it for a
did.
few months and then your sister dies.
Did
And
she
then
really
she
tell
dies.
her yeah, and then she did die. I don't know. I just from dealing with many, many people with chronic illnesses and their families
Yeah,
and
but she was a music teacher.
now working on hospice, I just feel who was a music teacher?
Wasn't her sister a music teacher?
Is that what their great I must have missed that. Is that what their great and glorious daughter did? I mean, listen, teaching is
No, 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 no. They held her
respectable,
to a different regard though. Like
but
they
they
held
I
her
thought she was gonna like come in and find the cure for cancer. No pun intended. The way that they acted about her.
I know.
Regardless, I think that there's room to have understanding for the sister that there isn't for the mom and dad because they didn't even know her own sister didn't know that she was pregnant. We find
See,
that out later.
I I find okay. I find it hard to believe that she didn't know she was pregnant because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you would put two and two together
Maybe,
eventually. Like,
what if
why
she
was your
wasn't really home?
yeah, because she was so self-absorbed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they weren't far
Yeah.
enough apart where it was like she was like in college and they were
10
like, your
years.
sister
Yeah.
just had a breakdown. Like, no, she was kind of just very self-absorbed. And like, she clearly just like didn't care enough to pay attention because it's like, I highly doubt that you didn't know that like something was going on. Like you couldn't be like, I don't know, it's really weird that my sister's leaving in what, November and coming back in May, and like she's been really sick these past few weeks. What could it possibly be?
Could we? Okay. That's fair. I get it. I get it. I do. I think I have sympathy for the sister and I don't know why. we've talked about all the ancillary characters. Let's talk about Maggie and Bryce. I think we've talked about Maggie quite a bit. Um, but I just feel like this girl's life is so tragic in so many ways.
Yeah.
I think even though she found photography and she found a love for photography, like losing her great love at such a young age, never really watching that come to fruition and sort of wandering and having this like vagabond existence, regardless of all the adventures and the
Yeah.
world that she's seen, I don't think she ever found an anchor.
She definitely has a tragic life, right? Like she gets pregnant, she doesn't get good grades, she doesn't seemingly have a lot of friends, all of these things, and then she, has to give up her kid and she gets taken away from a situation that clearly helped her become a better person, like very
Didn't even
abruptly.
let her say goodbye.
Dude, they put her on a plane and I bet you she was like her
She
placenta had
never
barely passed through her vagina. Like
she
I
never got to see him again
her
because then
mom was
she
a bitch
died.
for that. Like
She
her
never
dad,
got to see him
her
again.
dad sucked in a lot of ways, but I feel like her mom was a little bit more calculated than him, and
Oh, for sure.
she saw the fact that she was like at least she wasn't being punished, and that was the problem, right? Like that's what her
Yeah,
parents they were. She wasn't being punished for her actions, and I'm like, God
exactly.
forbid your daughter didn't hang herself because she
Right.
was pregnant and you sent her away to an aunt that she didn't know. I mean, she ends up loving her aunt very much, but like, you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't know anything.
No,
She's 16. They were like, she was so
terrifying.
worried about you the first few. You like, yeah. I'm sorry. Like that's fucked up. And
No,
Bryce
I
is like
think it's fucked
such a
up too.
sweet person. And like he's such a good person. He doesn't judge her. He,
I think
tutors her.
it's wild that a 17-year-old fell in love with a girl who's pregnant with someone else's child. Like the maturity, no, not in like
No,
a
no,
not
no. You
in a
know what it's
crazy
giving? Secret
what.
Life of the American Teenager.
It's giving Secret Life to the American Teenager.
Did you
What an
watch
absurd
Secret Life?
show. That show was wild.
You, dude, the fact that people were having babies left and right is
Everyone
it's
was
wild.
pregnant. Everyone was
I was
pregnant.
pregnant. Like at that point, I thought I was. It was 13. Like, come
That
on.
show was hilarious. It was so much. I don't know. No one can make me hate Shailene Woodley. I don't care that she hikes up a mountain to get her spring water.
I don't hate Shailene Woodley. I just like I wouldn't trust her alone in a room full of children to get a vaccine.
No, absolutely not.
But I
And
would love to have like an ale with her and then like hike up a mountain because I feel like she would just be so fucking wild.
yeah, I just love her.
I think she'd be hilarious, but I wouldn't trust her with illness.
No, never in a million years. And the fact that
Like
she
she
was
would.
dating Aaron Rodgers, like, we hate the Green Bay Packers. Like, we
No,
are
no, no,
Bears.
no. I specifically now hate Aaron Rodgers. And it was justice that a 9/11 conspiracy theorist tore his Achilles on 9/11 in MetLife Stadium. And you know what? That's what I call justice. Book closed.
Anyways,
He
it
is.
is giving Secret Life of the American
Which
Teenager.
I
It's
think is so
giving
funny.
Meg. It's giving
But Bryce was actually like a competent person until he wasn't, which was very uncharacteristic of him.
him
Please.
proposing was fucking unhinged.
Proposing, he was like, that's the house we're gonna buy.
Unhinged.
Like they say you do crazy things for love, and I'm like, look, we've all been young and stupid, but I'm like, I don't know if
I've
I was
never
ever
been that
like,
young and stupid.
right. I've never been like, let's raise your baby. Let's let me drop out of West Point. And he got accepted into Harvard. And like, no wonder his mom came to talk to her. And like,
She
Maggie
didn't
was,
even freak out though.
she didn't because I think she felt like Maggie, like she
Wanted
wouldn't,
the best for him.
yeah, she knew that she didn't have to like because first of all, it's not Maggie's fault that like feelings happen, and I'm sure that like
Right.
as somebody who also got 16 and pregnant, even though I think she was
She
like
was
19, but
19.
like
Yeah.
regardless, like even though somebody who also got pregnant at a young age, she understands that like you cannot control like feelings and you cannot control like what other people do, but she understands also like the influence that she could have and that she was the only one who reasonably could get through to him. Like if she was yelling at her and she was like, it's your fault, blah blah blah. Also, it doesn't seem like the type of person his mom is.
No, she seems so level-headed.
Yeah. And I mean, it worked out in the end. Maggie wasn't wrong to be like, hey, like, look, we're young. I need to finish school at the very least. You should go to school. Like, you should at
Right.
least go to college. I mean, to be fair, if she didn't go to college and he did, they would still, like, probably be okay if, like, they were able to be okay. Just because, like, it was the late 90s, early 2000s, and, like, they could have bought a house.
Right. Right.
I want my house.
The
I'm gonna
proposal
buy
was
a house.
unhinged. The whole plan was
No, that was
unhinged.
so fucking, and, like, that's why she was like, look, like, they all knew that wasn't him. Like they all knew, like she even Maggie was like, as much as I love you, like I just can't do this to you. Which is, I think, the ultimate sacrifice of love, right? Like is like
Yeah.
knowing when to walk away. And it's
That
like,
was a
what did they
very
say?
mature decision. I think that was a testament to her character arc.
Mm-hmm.
Because they very pointedly, Nicholas Sparks, the author, very pointedly made her incredibly boy crazy. So can you imagine if the Maggie from the beginning of the story had heard that a boy wanted to give up his whole world for her, it would have
Yeah.
sent her to a spiral. She would have been thrilled.
Right.
But after she got to know him, as she's grown as a character, and we all know I love a character arc, good or bad.
I
Here's
think
a
it's
look
just
at you,
like
mom. The mom's character arc was on brand.
the mom can rot in hell. Like,
Rot
I
in
don't give
hell, Jax.
oh my God. It was just it was so unlike him and like the fact that like, well, God, what pissed me off was when he went into the special forces and died. Like,
Ugh, that was
come
so
on. Everybody
heartbreaking.
fucking died in Afghanistan. Fucking
Of
George Bush,
course,
man.
of course, he missed her 24th birthday on the beach, and then he died. And then I really think it said like it gave a very brief description about how she spiraled, right? Because it was like from her point of view. But I really
Yeah.
think that's when she lost her like her
That's
her
probably when she
anchor,
lost herself.
her
Like,
anchor, her like her the thing that grounded
right.
you.
Oh, it like hurts my heart.
I
Like so
know.
much.
They're so sad. Let's talk about Mark.
Mark.
So, to no one's surprise, the young gentleman that showed up to work at the gallery,
Hmm.
who had watched her vlog videos on her cancer journey, ends up being Maggie's son. The
Hmm.
baby that she had at the end of this book is the young man that worked at the gallery.
Hmm.
His name is Mark. He was adopted by a family in Indiana. Um, I it was predictable that he was her son.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the interview, but I was suspicious. I was like, is
Yeah.
he in love with her? Is this Bryce's son? Like, whose kid is this? I was confirmed when he said he wasn't going anywhere for Christmas. That's what I knew.
Oh, I thought somewhere it said that she had a boy, like
It didn't
earlier.
say it until the end.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought she had a boy, like up until she was like, up until they went to the doctor and she was like, oh, we think it's a girl. Like they couldn't get a good angle though. But like for the whole time, I really thought, I was like, oh, so it actually ended up being a girl. But yeah, no, I think when it was when I was like, this is definitely not a romantic connection. Like I was like, no way they're gonna have him split up with like Abigail.
Um,
And like I was just like it didn't feel romantic and I was just like this definitely feels more of like I don't know. I feel like we can have a lot to compare it to as well because like we had a grandmother who was on hospice that we were, you especially, I'm not saying I wasn't close to her, but like you lived with her, like you were with her a lot. And I kind of like thought of her in these moments, especially because
yeah,
she died like unfortunately like what 22 days before Christmas. Um, and that was like her favorite time of year. And I just was like, I would have loved to have taken her downtown. I would have loved to have taken her to see the lights. I would have loved to have done all these things that I know she loved doing and like
yeah,
had one last party, but we couldn't. Like I thought it was yeah, like I was like, okay, he's not that he didn't seem like a good person, but I was like, there seems to be something more that he wants.
right,
And like I like that though he waited because he got to know her in a platonic way
right.
that wasn't like just being her son.
And I
And
love
like
that he stayed with her through the end.
that was very sweet. Like that's
It-
not an easy thing to
yeah,
do.
No, and even though her parents were there, like he was her source of comfort.
Yeah, well, fuck those parents. Sorry. They have no haters. I'm dead. I can't.
Yeah, I know her parents are awful. I mean, God, I hate to say that because you really do try to do your best as a parent, but
Okay, but you wouldn't ship your child away.
no,
You
no,
you
God, no.
wouldn't
Because
you
of
wouldn't
appearances, absolutely not.
yeah.
Not 100%, 100% not. Like there are instances where I feel like it's beneficial to start over,
Yeah.
but because I was worried about what people thought of my kid, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just, did we think that he was like maybe a little too good? I don't know.
What do you mean too
Was like
good?
annoyingly good. He's like, I want to be a pastor, and
Well, yeah, I feel like
I never
Maggie was
got
kind
in
of annoying.
trouble. I'm perfect. Like, okay.
I feel like Maggie was kind of like, that's really annoying. Like she
Yeah.
just clearly didn't like it.
Okay, what do you think of the letter she wrote him?
That was really sweet. Like I
Yeah.
just, huh?
I thought it was kind of cheesy.
Well, yeah, it was cheesy, but I'm like, what else are you supposed to say? Like, I don't know. I guess it's just like you can only say so much when you've only known someone for so long.
She's like, I
But
feel like even though this random boy that I was in love with when I was pregnant with you isn't your father, I feel like you have a part of him. Like, what are you even talking about?
well, I mean, to be
Shut up.
fair, it's like the closest she's ever felt to somebody else.
I
And
guess. No, you're right. I should
like,
give her some slack.
poor girl's fucking dead.
I could be a little nicer.
I think she was just trying to like connect with him and
Yeah.
other like I think there's only so much you can say because she ragged on his dad a lot. Like she was
Yeah.
like that man
Well,
just
he was
loves so
kind of shit. So,
well yeah, but I just like what was like they were 16, what were they supposed to do?
no, 100%. I think that is absolutely accurate, but I just thought it was kind of cheesy. I do love that they brought her ashes back to the beach that they were supposed to meet at.
I
Um,
can't. Like it's like my whole
because
heart.
everyone's undeniably Catholic in this book.
Oh
Nicholas
my God.
here's to looking at you. Theoretically, they're in heaven together, living out their best lives.
Hmm.
But overall, I think I liked it. Like I think like what you said, I don't
Yeah.
think it's a favorite.
Right.
I don't think it's like the best book I've ever read, but
Mhm.
I definitely enjoyed reading it.
I agree. I definitely give it like a 3.5
Yeah,
out of 5 just because
solid.
it was a little bit cheesy and predictable,
Right.
but I also could have just like done without being preachy a little bit. Like I liked that the aunt
Yeah.
was a nun, but I would have loved it if she was just like, you know what, Gwen is my love, and I realized that some things are more important
Yeah.
than like worshiping somebody, and it doesn't make me a bad person to love who I love.
Yes. But the author does not feel that way. So that's why I
No, but I'm
get
just
that.
saying, like, he can suck a dick. Hate that I gave him money.
Fair enough. I did it
Whatever.
twice because I bought the hardcover and then I bought the audiobook because I can't sit still enough to read.
What would you rate it out of like 5?
No, that's where I was at. I was gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But any final thoughts on the
No,
wish?
I think we covered it.
I think we did too. But let us know your guys' thoughts below if you've read it. If not, let us know if you want to read it, and we would love to hear it if you do read it and come back to this. But other than that, we'll catch you guys next month for our next book. Let us know if you have any suggestions down below too for that.
Yes, and hopefully without the plague.
Yes, hopefully without the plague. Have a good holiday, you guys.
Bye.